Hello students, I am Dr. Kiran Rakebe from the Department of English, Maratha Vidya Prasarak Samajaj, Srimati Bimlaben Khimji Tejukaya, Arts, Science and Commerce College, Devrali Camp, Nasik. Once again, I welcome all of you on this learning management system introduced by Savitribai Phule Pune University, Pune and Maratha Vidya Prasarak Samajaj, Srimati Bimlaben Khimji Tejukaya, Arts, Science and Commerce College, Devrali Camp, Nasik. Now, today I am going to talk about one of the topics that has been introduced at your first year BA optional English paper in semester 2. The topic is one act play as a literary genre. Now, before we start talking about one act play as one of the literary genres, let us see what we have seen in the previous lecture in the form of recap. Now, students, in the previous class, we discussed about poetry as a literary genre, poetry as one of the types of poetry as one of the literary genre, one of the forms of literature, and especially we talked about English poetry. After talking about it, we also talked about the language of poetry, how language of poetry varies from the language of other genres, that is drama and fiction. And then in the later part of the lecture, we discuss about various types of poetry. Now, after talking about it, let us see what we are supposed to talk about in today's lecture or in today's session in the form of session agenda. In today's session, we are going to talk about what is one act play. We are going to discuss one act play as one of the literary genres, one of the literary forms of English literature. After talking about the definition of one act play, we are also going to talk about the evolution of one act play as a literary genre. How one act play came in existence, how one act play became one of the popular forms of English literature. And after it, in the last session of today's lecture, we are going to talk about the various characteristics of one act play in the form of elements of one act play. How one act play is made up of different elements, and we are going to discuss those elements in detail. Let us see some of the learning objectives, what you are supposed to understand, what you are supposed to learn towards the end of today's session in the form of learning objectives. By the end of today's lecture, by the end of today's session, you will be able to understand the term one act play. You will come to know what is one act play and how it is different from the other literary genres. Now, after understanding one act play as one of the literary genres, you will also be able to understand the historical evolution of one act play, how one act play came in existence, what were the earlier one act plays and how they became popular. After it, you will also be able to understand the various features of one act play or the elements of one act play. What are the elements of one act play? And on the basis of this discussion, you will be able to understand, appreciate one act play as a literary genre. So, appreciation of one act play as a literary genre is one of the learning objectives that you are supposed to achieve towards the end of today's session. Now, let us begin our today's session with the understanding the concept of one act play. What is a one act play? Now, if you look at the title one act play, you will be able to understand its definition in a proper way. Now, a one act play is a play that has only one act play. A one act play is a play that has only one act, and on the basis of this it is called as one act play. Now, it varies, it differs from the other plays, or which is also called as a full length play, in the say that it is as distinct from the plays that occur over several acts. Several acts means a full length play may have either 3 acts or 5 acts, and a one act play differs from such full length play in the way that it consists of one single act which may be divided into different scenes. Again, the number of scenes is limited as compared to the full length play. So, a one act play is a play that has only one act and it is distinct from, it is separate from, it is different from the plays that occur over several acts or that occurs over the full length play. Several acts means either 3 acts or 5 act play, which is also called as a full length play or a drama or a play. Now, a one act play has a single dominant theme. Usually, a full length play has more than one themes. There is one dominant theme, and on the basis of or to related to that one particular dominant theme, main theme, there are some sub themes. But as far as one act play is concerned, it has a single, only one dominant theme around which the entire action, all the characters move around that single dominant theme. So, a one act play has one single dominant important theme around which the entire action or all the characters of the play move around. Now, a one act play deals with single interesting theme. The theme of a one act play is single and that has to be interesting so that the viewers, the spectators will be glued to their seats. They will watch the play till the end. A one act play has a theme which is based on some interesting topics, the topics which interest the audience, so that they will come and watch it while it is being performed on the stage. And most importantly, as I have already said just now, a one act play is meant to be performed or enacted rather than to be read. Like novels or poetry. Poetry is, most of the poems are meant to be read aloud. They can be enjoyed even by silent reading. Even the novels can be read aloud. Novels can be understood, appreciated by reading silently. But a full length play or a one act play varies in a sense that they are meant to be performed on the stage. They are meant to be enacted on the stage. So, the characters actually perform the one act play or a full length play there on the stage, and here we have the readers, and there, as far as one act play is concerned, we have the viewers or the spectators. So, these are the things which will make you understand the concept of a one act play. A one act play is a short play that consists of one single act, as different from a full length play which has either 3 acts or 5 acts. Number 1. Number 2, it has one single dominant situation. The situation presented in a one act play by the author, by the dramatist, is having a dominant situation. And number 3, it deals with one single interesting theme. The theme of a one act play has to be interesting and one single. We do not have sub themes as we do find in other or in full length plays. Here, since there is only one act, we have one single interesting dominant theme in a one act play. And last but not the least, that one act plays are meant to be performed. They cannot be enjoyed just by reading. If you really want to enjoy a one act play, you must go to the theatre and watch it, because they are especially written for performances. So, they are meant to be performed or enacted there on the stage. Okay, now let us see how one act play came in the existence. One act play as a literary genre, one act play as a literary form came into existence. The evolution of one act play as a literary genre. Now, let me tell you one thing, that initially one act plays were not written as individual form of literature. Just as we had poetry, just as we have plays and we have novels, or we call it fiction. Like them, One-act plays were not written as a typical or a particular literary form. Rather, they were known as the curtain raisers. The curtain raiser or the afterpieces. One-act plays initially had these names. They were not known as one-act plays. They were known as the curtain raisers or the afterpieces. Now, if you look at these two terms, the curtain raiser and the afterpieces, then you will come to know something about it. For example, nowadays, when you go for watching a movie, before the actual movie begins, we have a teaser of a forthcoming movie. For a few minutes, a teaser is shown before the actual movie begins. A teaser of a forthcoming movie is shown there in the cinema halls. Now, what is the purpose of those teasers? The purpose of those teasers is to entertain as well as to make the audience aware of the forthcoming film. In the similar way, sometimes during the break, you know that when there is a halfway break in a movie, in a film, during the intermission, we have the teasers of some movies, some forthcoming movies, and people enjoy it, people enjoy watching it. Or sometimes, towards the end of a movie, after the end of a movie, some, the things are shown that how the film was made, the actual shooting during the, when the movie was being shot. It is also known as behind the scenes, the actual scenes, the actual actions of the movie before they were edited, before they were completely shot down. Most of the directors show it in the form of, under the name of behind the scenes. And you know that people love to watch it. In the same way, when the plays were performed, full-length plays were performed there in the theater before the actual play begins. For example, if there was a play called Hamlet, and people used to gather watching that particular play. Now, before the play, before the Hamlet, this play begins, you know that some shorter performances were performed there on the stage. Few characters used to come there on the stage, and they used to perform small actions with the purpose of entertainment there on the stage before the actual play was begun. Or sometimes during the intermission, or maybe towards the end of, after the end of the actual play, full-length play, some characters used to come and they used to perform, they tried to entertain the spectators. And therefore, these two names, the curtain raiser and the afterpieces. The curtain raiser means the moment the curtain was raised, instead of the actual play was, instead of showing the actual play, instead of performing the actual play or a full-length play, some shorter entertainment performances were performed. And that is why it is called as the curtain raiser, just as we call it as a teaser of a forthcoming one. Now, these performances were of just 20 to 30 minutes duration. Or sometimes, after the entire play was over, again, after some pieces or maybe after the original play, some shorter entertainment performances were shown there on the stage. Now, what happened that sometimes what used to happen, instead of the full-length play, instead of the original play, these shorter performances started getting more popularity. You know that you might have heard about The Monkey's Paw. The Monkey's Paw, this one-act play, actually it was performed as the curtain raiser. But what happened that people came to know that The Monkey's Paw was more popular than the actual play which they used to come for watching there in the theatre. Like this, the authors understood that people are interested in shorter performances rather than the longer one. People do not have much time like that going into the theater and watching the five act play or a 3 act plays. And then even when it came to reading, people were more interested in reading the shorter play than the longer play. And this is how some writers started writing shorter plays, and that is called as one-act play. So one-act play were not written as one-act play earlier, they were just written for the entertainment purposes. But when they got popularity, even more popular than the original plays, then some authors, some writers, some dramatists, some playwright, they thought of writing shorter plays. And that is how one-act play came in existence. This is the evolution of one-act play as a literary genre, right? So one-act plays were not written as one-act play, rather earlier, initially, one-act plays were written as the curtain raisers and the afterpieces with the purpose of entertainment, shorter entertainment, right? Now, after talking about the history of one-act play, how one-act play came in existence, let us see some of the elements of one-act play. What is one-act play made of? Like a full-length play, one-act play does have some elements. For example, the plot. Like a full-length play, it also has a plot. It deals with some action, some events. A plot is made up of different events. So, like full-length play, a one-act play has a plot. It has an action. Action means that moves from one episode to one event to the another event. Now, action is also plot. As far as plot is concerned, it has one single dominant plot. A one-act play does not have subplots like other full-length plays. A full-length play has one plot, main plot, and along with the main plot, it could have some subplots, more than 2, 3, 4, 5 subplots. But as far as one-act play is concerned, it has only one single main plot, and the story, the action moves from that one single plot. Like it also has one dominant action, the events. The actions takes place one after another. It does not have like a full-length play. It does not have longer span. It does not have a varied action. So the actions take place at one place within a shorter period of time. Like a full-length play, it also has conflict. Conflict is one of the elements of a one-act play. Now, what is a conflict? A conflict could be between two characters. For example, a hero and a villain, a protagonist and antagonist. They fight with each other. It could be between two regions, two religions, and so on. But without conflict, a play cannot have the entertainment part. So, like a full-length play, a one-act play also has conflict as one of the elements. Like a full-length play, a one-act play also has characterization, but it also differs from full-length play as far as characters are concerned. For example, in a full-length play, there are more characters. More than 10 characters are there in a full-length play. Whereas, in a one-act play, there are very few number of characters. Main characters, maybe 2 or 3 main characters. Usually 2 characters are there, main characters, and 1 or 2 minor characters could be introduced there. But the number of main characters is limited to 2 to 3, like that. So, it has characterization, but it has limited number of characters. And like a full-length play again, another element of one-act play is that, like a full-length play, it also has a dialogue. The dialogues exchanged between or among the characters, and through these dialogues the action moves forward. And last but not the least, it has a structure. Like a full-length play, it has a proper structure. For example, it has a beginning, it has a middle, and it has an end. A proper beginning, middle, and end. But again, it varies from a full length play, just as in a full length play, for the action, there is some space. The playwright may have some introduction, he may introduce some background to the main action, but here in a one act play, the action begins right from the beginning. And there is no gap between the beginning and the middle, or between the middle and an end. But it does have a proper structure like beginning, middle, and end. So these are the elements, these are the 6 major elements apart from the setting. These are the 6 major elements of a one act play. Now, if you look at some of the elements some of the one act plays, those were written in the history. The initial one act plays, this is the list of one act plays which could be called as the initial one act plays which became popular. For example, the Bishop Candlesticks, the Monkey's War, which I referred to you, which most of them were written as not as one act plays. These plays, these one act plays, were written by taking some stories from other stories, from a longer stories, from a novel. A particular episode was taken, and on the basis of that episode, some plays were done, or they were written as a curtain raiser or afterpieces. So, the Bishop Candlesticks, the Monkeys War, a Refund, the Dear Departed, and Hello Out There. These are some of the popular, some of the famous one act plays which were written at the beginning. And from them, when these plays got popularity among the readers, when these plays got popularity among the viewers, among the spectators, then the author rather started writing a one act play as an individual or a separate literary genre. By that time, one act play was not an individual literary genre, but they were just named as the curtain raisers or the afterpieces, just as I told you. Now, let us see what we have seen so far in today's session in the form of summary. In today's session, we talked about one act play as a separate literary genre. So, how earlier one act play was not an individual, how earlier one act play was not a separate literary form, and then how gradually it became a separate literary genre. We also talked about one act plays evolved out of the curtain raisers or the afterpieces. How earlier the one act plays were written by taking some episodes from some longer plays, some episodes from some longer novels. A small episode was taken, and on the basis of that, the theme was taken, and then the afterpieces or the curtain raisers were written so that the audience could be entertained. By the time the actual play begins, the audience must be entertained, and with that purpose they were written. And we also talked about like a full length play which has 3 or 4 acts. A play with 3 or 5 acts, a play with 3 or 5 acts is called as a full length play. And like a full length play, one act play has all elements, all the 6 elements like plot, characterization, action, conflict, and so on, a proper structure. So, like full length play, a one act play has all the structures, all those elements which are found there in a full length play. Now, on the basis of the discussion that we had so far, let us have some session assignment. Now, these are some of the elements of one act play which we have discussed so far. You are supposed to write short notes, a short note of around 10 sentences on conflict, characterization, dialogue, and structure. These are the 4 elements of one act play. Write down a short note in about 10 sentences for each of the elements, and you can send your answers, you can send your assignments on my official mail ID, that is rakibe.kiran@mvpsvktcollege.ac.in. I will respond to you on your personal mails after assessing your assignments. Thank you very much.